It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 25th day of August, 2020, coming to you from Forest in Virginia, in Central Virginia, right outside of Lynchburg, having survived a brutal storm last night. Some of you folks that have these pop-up thunderstorms all over the country, we had one that hit here last night. And when you see one of those things on your weather forecast or on a weather map or a weather bulletin or whatever, well, be careful because they're brutal. It didn't last long. It was about 20 minutes, but we had 60 to 65 mile an hour winds here at the farm. And probably at first I thought it was a couple inches of rain, but after Amanda told me what all she had to take out of the pool, it was probably 3 to 4 inches of rain in about 20 minutes. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And that has nothing to do with the tropical system, but that's just these severe thunderstorms that are popping up everywhere. So if you see one of those in your weather, be careful because, man, it's something. It's something. So, okay. Several things today. One, when I do, breaking news or go live unexpectedly, and I've done that several times with the weather updates the last couple days, and go live and do the report. And I don't even think about going over and checking the chat box. And invariably, some of you guys are seeing that I'm live and click on it and are there. And I don't even say hello or kiss my butt or anything. I do apologize for that. I'll try to remember that in the future. But the last couple of times, it's just, I do the report and I get off. So again, thank you guys for always, those of you that pop in at all times. I do appreciate that. And it's not that I'm meaning to ignore you. It just happens that way. So just an extraordinarily busy week ahead for me. Today, this afternoon, 3:00 my time, we're going to be talking with our friend Sue Bryant. She's just recently been on the Variety Cruises 3-masted schooner, the Galileo. She did a week cruise last week. So we're going to be talking about the Galileo today. That will be live. It will be the first of our new cruise Amigos live from Virginia, the marriage between the Chillie Chats and the Cruise Amigos. Will be live this afternoon at 3:00 my time. That's 8:00 London time with Sue Bryant, who's been with us before. She's, of course, the travel editor of the London Times, and she's a pretty big person. So Sue will be with us today to talk about a schooner, which is pretty cool. Tomorrow at 3:00 my time, we're going to be talking with a couple of my Scottish ladies, Rona and Allison, about their girls' day in Edinburgh. And I'm sure there'll be some discussion about misbehaving in Edinburgh, but that's neither here nor there. So we're going to talk with Rona and Allison and take a look at some of the Edinburgh photos from that was last weekend on their girls' day in Edinburgh. Then Thursday at 3:00 my time, again, live. All these are live this week as opposed to tape. Sometimes we'll be doing tapes, but this week we're going to try all of them live. We'll be talking with Allison more about her recent trip to Dubrovnik, Croatia. And that was on a cruise before all this pandemic mess happened. She's got some lovely, lovely pictures. And so hopefully some of you guys saw our show Sunday with Daniel Hopfeld from Katarina Cruises in Croatia. That was just, it ended up being another fabulous show. Some lovely scenery, a great ship. We saw some passengers from Germany and some of his crew and everything. It ended up being just a fabulous show on Sunday. So we're going to do another program about Croatia here on Thursday. Then Friday at 3 o'clock my time, that's 8 o'clock London time, I'm going to be interviewing Taylor Dolvin, who is a Miami Herald reporter. He covers the travel and cruise industry for the Miami Herald. He's also been covering the lawsuit trial of Bahamas Paradise, and we do have the outcome of that, which we'll be talking about. And if anything else related to cruising in South Florida, of course, everything shut down in this country, and it's going to be for a while, and maybe he'll have some information about that we don't know about, which would be nice. Then on Sunday, next Sunday, on the regular show on Cruise Amigos live from London, that's at 3 o'clock my time and 8 o'clock London time. Our guest will be Ernest Marchand, former star of Starlight Express, and he's currently a cruise director for Azamara Cruise Line. So that's just this week, folks, on this crazy channel. So I hope you will enjoy all that we are going to be offering this week. Participate all that you want via chat and asking questions or whatever. So, all right. I guess we better get first to the news of the day. Of course, it has to do with weather. Hurricane Laura. Well, first, I guess we can talk about Marco. Marco, after my broadcast on Sunday, became a hurricane for about 4 or 5 hours, and sheer tore the thing apart and started weakening immediately, which was good. So by the time it got to the coast and had landfall, it had been reduced, I guess you could call it that, to a tropical depression, and it now is actually a post-tropical cyclone. And it's down to like 30 miles an hour. So that's, it's going to rain itself out over the next day or two as it moves on toward Texas and up into Texas and Oklahoma. The problem, of course, is Hurricane Laura. At 8 o'clock this morning, the Hurricane Center issued the regular update, which Laura was still a tropical storm that had just left Cuba, that left the coast of Cuba and was out into the Gulf. And of course, we've been expecting rapid intensification. So at 8 o'clock, it was a tropical storm. At 8:15, Center for Hurricane Center came right back on again and said, oh, it's now Hurricane Laura. It is expected to continue to intensify rapidly. Currently, it's 75 miles an hour. The pressure's dropped to 990. It's moving west-northwest at 16 miles an hour. It is going to, in all probability, folks, hit land as a major hurricane, Category 3, at least, possibly even a 4. Of course, there's hurricane watches all over the coast. The interesting thing about Laura is what's going to happen. Of course, it's a huge storm, guys. So the warnings are going to go from Florida all the way around through probably half the Texas coast, cover all that area. It looks like the the most likely place for landfall is going to be somewhere in the Lake Charles vicinity, along the central to western Louisiana coast. And then it is going to move pretty much directly north in Louisiana, up through like Shreveport, up that way, all the way up to Little Rock, Arkansas. And in Little Rock, Arkansas, that far north, it's still going to be at least tropical storm rated that far away. After it gets past Little Rock, it's going to start bending a pretty significant turn to the right and go across the mid-Ohio Valley through Tennessee, Kentucky. Looks like right straight through the middle of Kentucky. And they're saying it could still drop 3 to 5 inches of rain that far inland in Kentucky, with some fairly significant winds still. It's going to continue pretty much straight across from there, go across West Virginia. And by next weekend, it's we could have some Laura remnants here at the farm. We're in the path. Of course, now that still can change. The path today can change as it's moving further and further to the left because of the speed and the rapid intensification. And the stronger it gets, it's going to move it further and further to the west. So it's no telling exactly where the landfall is going to be yet on this one. But come late tomorrow night, or possibly, because it has slowed down a little, possibly early Thursday morning, we're looking at a major hurricane landfall on the Gulf Coast. Major. That means category 3 or higher. Now, just to keep things interesting, we got a little bit to look at the Pacific, as there's 3 suckers out there. They are, oddly enough, they're just numbered. The one right off on the coast of Mexico, southern Mexico, is disturbance 2. 70% chance of intensifying over the next 5 days. Then the next one that's out in the water there, the red one out in the water, that's disturbance 1. It has a 90% chance to of formation and intensification. And then the yellow one out there is disturbance 3. It's only 30%. So the 2 red ones are probably going to get stronger and could possibly become tropical disturbances, cyclones, and on the path toward being a hurricane. Doesn't say that they're going to get that strong, but they're worth watching. So that's what's going on now in the tropics. Again, the major story, of course, is Hurricane Laura, major hurricane hitting the Gulf Coast late tomorrow, early Thursday morning. And of course, we'll keep you updated with information as I get it here in my studios over the next couple days. So you guys that are down on the Gulf Coast, by all means, man, be careful, stay safe, stay healthy, because it's going to get bad. Storm surges are going to be bad. Wind's going to be bad. Rain's going to be awful. On top of, had quite a bit of rain you had from Marco, even though it wasn't a bad storm as it could have been. Still a lot of rain dumped, especially on the east side of that. So you're already saturated down there. So there's going to be problems with, trees upending and power lines down, and it's going to be a mess. Just be ready for it. Get as much done today as you can, because by tomorrow it's going to be nasty. So, all right, let's move on to some other things this morning. Quite frankly, the news today is a bunch of mixed bags that make no sense to me whatsoever, because some are good, some are bad, some are in the middle. So I'm not sure what's what on some of them. For instance, the CDC is no longer recommending 14-day quarantine for travelers. Yes, the numbers in this country are better. We've had several days now that the total number of new cases is going down. That's a good sign. We've had several days now that the death rate has dropped below 1,000 deaths per day. That's a good sign. Those are two tremendously good signs at this time. However, keep in mind, if these schools starting up and the colleges starting up this past week, it can take 14 days before we see the effects of that. Is this going to spike back up again? We don't know. The country overall, as a general statement, people are doing better. They're doing better with the masks. They're doing better with social distancing because they found out how bad it was when they didn't. Now, it's not good enough yet to get on top of this, but we're getting better. And I think that's the reason you're seeing some of the numbers improving. Not enough, but some. Then I didn't really understand why CDC comes out and removes its recommendations for travelers to complete a self-imposed 14-day quarantine if they travel out of state or the country. It leaves it up to the states to dictate this, which that's fun for somebody like New York that has a policy in effect. But how about some of these states that have been lacking far behind on everybody else in the country on doing things right to start with? CDC still points out that you may, if you become exposed, that you need to quarantine yourself. But it's not a recommendation. I mean, it's a recommendation, not a requirement. So it's just kind of a mixed signal from the CDC. They don't have that 14-day requirement anymore. And that's a great sign toward getting things reopened and starting to travel and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm just wondering about the wisdom of doing it at this time. So, along those lines, New York has lifted the ban on 5 of the states. And again, folks, I'm not making a political statement on this, but I tend to believe more about what is said out of New York than I do about just about any other state in the country. And admittedly, early on in this, the state made some massive mistakes, especially in dealing with nursing homes. But they got it right. They got it fixed. They started doing better. They started getting a handle on things. And eventually, they're in better shape than anywhere we are in the country. So I tend to have a little more faith in information that comes out of there. But they've lifted their statewide ban on 5 states, which means those 5 states are doing a lot better now. Alaska, Arizona, that's one that was problems. Delaware, Maryland, and Montana. So those 5 states will be removed, if they haven't already today, will be removed from the travel warning list for the state of New York. So, good sign for those guys. All right, moving right along. MSC. You know, they had a great cruise last week. It seems from all I've been able to gather, everything was done well, other than that one family that broke the rules, got caught, and they kicked them off the boat, which I'm all in favor of what they did. But now they were going to sail on the Magnifica starting on the 29th. They've now canceled that. They were set to resume a cruise to the Eastern Mediterranean on the 29th and offer 7-night itineraries calling to the Greek ports of Corfu, Catacolone, and Piraeus out of the Italian ports of Bari and Trieste. They have canceled that for the time being because of lack of interest. And now remember, they're only taking Italian passengers at this time. But I'm surprised all the people that are dying to get on cruise ships again. And maybe it's just because that they were taking only Italian passengers at this time. But especially with the last week going so well for MSC. But so the next one was going to be the second big test of a big ship's not going to happen, at least now. So again, I tell you, there's a mixed bag of information today. Other story that broke during the night last night: Virgin Atlantic, the airline, the airways folks, is offering free COVID-19 insurance. It will be provided to customers of Virgin Atlantic, offering financial cover should they or a companion fall ill from coronavirus while traveling. The airline's new policy includes meeting emergency medical costs, as well as associated transport, accommodation, and repatriation expenses, up to a value of £500,000 per customer. It will also cover up to £3,000 of expenses. Of course, since that's mostly European stuff, that's why it's in pounds and not dollars, folks. So, but anyway, good for them. I'm glad to see somebody doing things right. And that's one of the steps of doing things right. And again, one of the mixed bag of things today, some good, some bad. Cunard has extend the suspension of cruising well into 2021, with the Queen Elizabeth not sailing until March 25th. QM2 paused until April 18th, and Queen Victoria due to restart on May the 16th. So quite a bit of time that they're extending into next year. And there's one other story. I debated even telling you about this one, but I have to. You know, I like to keep things positive, believe it or not, in these times. One of the reasons that I'm so happy with the overall philosophy of the Cruise Amigos, because we keep things upbeat and we don't dwell on the negative. And unfortunately on this show, because it's more news oriented, even though, I give my fat butt opinion on most things, I have to deal with the negative as well as the positive. So be it. One of the popular ports has said we may not open up the cruise ships until 2022. You'll be shocked when you hear who it is. Even as cruisers hope that they might be able to get on a ship by the end of 2020 or at least early in 2021, one popular destination is questioning whether its port will reopen at all in 2021. Unfortunately, because that port is the one located in Victoria, British Columbia, it could have an incredibly far-reaching impact, especially when it comes to the 2021 Alaska sailing season. Now, you guys all know how this is stupid that 1854 Jones Act thing works, where if it sails from the United States, it has to stop in another country because they don't fly United States flags. It's only we got one ship left, one cruise ship left out in Hawaii. The rest of the ships are flying Panamanian flags and Liberian flags and who knows what flags. There's all kinds of countries that are on there. So if they sail from an American port, they have to go to another country. How that affects Alaska, of course, is if it sails from Seattle, it's got to stop in Canada. It's the only two places you can stop in Canada is Vancouver and Victoria. Vancouver is also a departure port. So you can sail from Vancouver and go to Canada and come back without going anyplace else because that's Canada going to Alaska. So, okay. But if you're sailing from Seattle, you must stop in Canada. Conversely, if you're running the Vancouver to Anchorage and back, like you're 7 days up and you get off in Anchorage and fly home, which is what I was going to do. Sailing from Anchorage back to Vancouver has to stop in Victoria. This is those weird rules that are all having to do with the Jones Act. So, Ian Robertson, who is the CEO of the Greater Victoria Harbor Authority, expressed his concern last week that, in fact, due to the United States in particular struggling to get the current health crisis under control, that those red flags may result in Victoria and other Canadian ports not opening for cruise ships through 2021. Now, that's not written in stone yet, like 2020 was written in stone pretty quickly by the Canadian government. But you're talking about some people that at least have a say in the Canadian government deciding what's going to happen, that are saying, So I'm not making any prediction, folks, the dire prediction of losing another year. But I'm just saying what it is. There are people out there that are likely to put up an argument against sailing anytime soon. As much as I don't want to hear that. However, that's the way it is. Okay, because I missed out on my commercial the other day, I'm not going to miss out on it today. I'll be back in a second.
Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scootaround. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scootaround for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise.
I was asked yesterday, actually, why I'm not going to keep doing Chillie chats. And there's a couple reasons. One is obviously I'm being arrogance on my part, because the Cruise Amigos and the efforts that the three of us have made, Pete, John, and I, over the 18, 19 shows, whatever it is that we've been doing this now. So, we're getting a little bit of experience, but still we're fairly new. The outrageous success that that's had, I'm trying to expand that into this channel as well. Being perfectly honest about it, folks. That's a whole nother audience that I had no chance of getting before. Now I'm starting to get some of you folks on this channel pretty regularly. But there's a couple other reasons for it. Number one, the Sunday show from London is set. That's at a specific time every week. You can count on it at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. our time, 8 p.m. London time. We're going to have a show. That show is going to last an hour. It's going to be an uplifting, informational, content-laden hour. We can absolutely promise you that. Now, it might be some fun. It might be some entertainment involved, other than pure content, because we enjoy what we're doing and we have fun, and we might have an adult beverage while we're doing it. Expanding this to combining Chillie Chats with the Cruise Amigos, number one, it brings them into my chats on this channel, brings some further audience expansion to this channel. We're not going to be bound by whether it's live all the time, although all 4 shows this week are live or will be live. There might be some that our guests prefer to be taped because they're not comfortable doing live. I have no problem with that. I can tape it and edit it and go put it online when our guest is happy with that. We can do that. We're not as necessarily have huge, today we have a huge guest. Sue Bryant is a top level, top drawer guest. We can have some common guests just as well. But it's great. People that just love to travel, like Rona and Allison tomorrow and Allison on Thursday. They're just like we are, folks. People that just have fun and like to travel. And that person's going to have a say on this channel as well. And I welcome that. And I welcome their opinions. And I welcome what they think about the things in the world. We're not bound by time. Yeah, it just happens that all the shows this week are at 3 o'clock. There might, one of the shows actually was going to be an hour different from that. And the person asked me if I could move it back an hour because they had a conflict in their schedule. We're flexible enough that that's no problem. Whereas the Sunday show is a little bit more set in its ways. So a lot of reasons why. We just hope that we can continue to provide good, fun content in the world of travel and cruising. It's what I hope to do, what Pete and John hope to do. John's working on a program now for agents, which you're going to hear some about for those of you that are travel agents out there. But yeah, a lot of things going on in our little world. So, all right, let's go see who's here today. I have not been over here at all since I put my morning greeting in there and said it's going to be a wild week, and it is. It's going to be nuts. Gretchen's with us from Ohio. Tom Henry's here. Tom, you're getting ready to go down to Florida, aren't you? Where is Jason? He missed TWB last night. No, Jason missed TWB. I'll be darned. We have a few lurkers. Hello, folks. Let's see. Amy's here. My phone is ringing. Sorry about that. Go away, phone. I'll call you back. So it won't stop ringing. Okay, there it goes. Tom Henry, Laura is headed to Richmond. We are evacuating to Port Canaveral on Thursday. Yeah, because we're actually going to get probably more of this of Laura here in Virginia than they are in Florida. Gretchen says she wished she was going somewhere. Tom says Viking adds a few more months pause. When will NCL follow suit? My November cruise still has its info. First sign is removal of the payment info. Yeah, that's generally the way it happens. And I think it's coming, Tom. I really do. I think I might have missed about Viking. Vikings extended theirs also, like Cunard did. Tom says 2 launches in the works on Saturday and Monday. There's another on Thursday, but we won't be there until Friday. Oh, the rocket launches. Yeah. Fred said he wants to check Viking out. That's Gretchen says that's Mr. Gretchen. Fred said he wants to check Viking out, ever sell them, Tom. Afraid they might be too highbrow for me. I tell you what, Gretchen, Emma, our little buddy Emma over there in the cruises for, no, not cruises for solo, that's Pete. Cruising isn't just for old people or whatever the name of her group is. Emma Latisse. She loves Viking. I've not sailed on Viking, but she absolutely adores Viking. So I count on a lot that Emma says as being pretty straight. So yeah, if you get a chance to go on a Viking cruise, jump on it. That's what I agree with going on any cruise I'm going to do. So, and by the way, those of you, if you missed the show on Catarina Cruises, Catarina Line, it's actually called, it's not Catarina Cruises, but Catarina Line, which I'm going to be posting a couple of videos. I'm going to break it down into pieces from the hour broadcast. So there'll be, like the segment 1, segment 2, segment 3 kind of thing. It's well worth watching. He was fascinating. He took us on a tour of the ship. I met some folks while he was doing it. Very knowledgeable. I had no idea that there was such a line anywhere in the world, much less in Croatia, which I didn't know. They have 62 ships. 62 ships. Now, they're small ships. They don't carry, they don't carry 16,000 people. It's a whole nother world if you get into those kind of things. And some of them are not only reasonable, I'd classify them as cheap. I mean, there's some bargain prices. They do a good job for solos. Had no idea. And that just opened up my eyes to, there's a whole nother world out there that, and especially in this country, we don't even know about, which we're going to try to know more about it. I'll tell you. But there's a lot of companies out there. I'd never heard of Catarina when I contacted them, 2 weeks ago? Just happened to trip across it. So, yeah, and there's a lot of them out there. Regional, single country type lines, like they're almost exclusively in Croatia. But it was a great show, fascinating show. Emily's with us. Hey, Emily, glad you're here. Emily's been out there running around in kayaks and paddle boards. I'm going to do a show on Emily with her kayaking and paddleboard. Not that I'm ever going to get in a damn kayak or on a paddleboard. But and Emily's no professional. She's the first thing she said is, I'm not a professional. I just do it because I like it. Well, that's fun. We're going to do a show about it too. Probably next week one day. We'll be talking to Emily about kayaking and paddleboarding and the East River. I don't even know where she goes. No, she doesn't go to the East River. Don't take that for serious, folks. But anyway, yeah, that's going to happen. We're gonna do a show with Emily on kayaking. So, Tom Henry, in answer to one of the questions, Tom Henry says, I've only sailed NCL. My first non-NCL was Royal Caribbean. in July, and it canceled. Oh, so he's actually only been on NCL. Wow, Tom, I didn't realize there was actually a couple things that I have more of than you. And that's one of the things I've sailed on several lines. Of course, I was a lot later getting on NCL than you were. You've been on NCL a lot longer than I have. So, let's see. Everybody's just speaking back and forth here. Emily says she lost money on the casino on the Dawn. One of these days, I'll tell you guys a story about gambling, but that's for another day. Let's see. Tom loves the free laundry. I promise you, Tom is not the one using the free laundry. I have a feeling. Ain't gonna happen. Someone in his cabin might be using the free laundry. We won't mention any names because she isn't with us today. All right, there's Jason. Jason's here. Jason, you were being disparaged about missing Bruce last night. Jason gets free laundry on Carnival and some free drinks. There you go. That's because you've been on 979 Carnival cruises. That's right with me. I've been on more Carnival than anything. Let's see here. Tom Henry, I found that they will give you a $19 full bag price if you ask nicely to the steward. Oh, yeah, the laundry for the laundry. We're talking. How'd you guys get to talking about laundry? Found out last cruise that for a 14-day cruise, you can get 2 bags each. That is not known and shown in the docs. I didn't know that. I've never even asked about it. So that's actually some good information that has crept into the comments today. I learned something at least. Huh, I'll be darned. Amy says, I think it has a lot to do with MSC stringent protocols. Some people just won't wear a mask or socially distance. I would if it got me on a cruise ship. Yeah, boy, I would too. And from what I could gather on last week's cruise, the only incident on the whole thing was that one family that broke the protocols on an excursion. And they were kicked off the ship because of that. From what I understand, it was pretty much overall, everybody took care of the mask policy and the social distancing thing. And the smaller ships like Katarina's last on Sunday, their protocols have been in place for some time, and they're getting really used to it now. So it's to me, it's just a fascinating way things have changed. I've always felt overall cruise ships were reasonably clean. People will fuss at me about saying that, but overall they were. Yes, we had problems last year and with the pandemic. Not last year, but when it first started. On a few ships. Not overall in the whole industry. And we've had several problems since then where people did not do the right things on getting the ships taken care of and making people do things like the social distancing and the mask wearing. So I'm more concerned with the other things having to do with cruising than I am with the cruise ship itself. I'm more concerned with getting to the cruise ship safely and healthily. Healthily, is that a word? Then once I get on a cruise ship, I would not have any problem whatsoever. None. I have that much faith in all of the cruise lines and cruise folks. But that's me. So I have less faith in our fellow man in various fellow states and countries, but especially in this country. And admittedly, folks, those of you that are on the conservative side of things, I'm saying right up front, things are looking better. I'm tickled pink that they're looking better. The last week or so on the numbers are going down. That's fabulous. That's great. I'm afraid that it's going to be short-lived, but I'll be the first one to be screaming from the top of my lungs if we can continue in this direction. That's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Why would NCL even have an American flag ship? They had 3, Jason, and 2 of them went by the wayside. And why they have just the one, I don't know if probably because from Hawaii, they want to cover the Hawaiian Islands. And if they were a Panamanian flag and sailed from Honolulu, they got to go to another country, and there's not one around Hawaii. I mean, you'd have to go, to Tahiti or something. I don't know what the nearest places are out there in the Pacific because I've never sailed out there. But you got to go someplace if you fly a different flag. So it might be just because they do the Hawaiian Islands cruises, or sail around the Hawaiian Islands, that they don't have to go anyplace. Now, if you take a cruise ship from San Diego or Los Angeles or San Francisco and go to Hawaii or back, you must go to another country. So if you sail from, let's say you do a round tripper from San Francisco, or that's usually good. They go the northern route, so they come back through like Victoria or Vancouver. Now, the southern route, like from Los Angeles to Hawaii, if you're coming back, they go through Ensenada, Mexico, because of the same stupid law. So probably, Jason, it's because of doing the Hawaiian Island cruise. And nobody else out there doing it. No other cruise lines. There might be some smaller ships that is a market that I know nothing about, that I'm just now starting to learn about. So, So Tom Henry answered the same way I did. What do you know? And Gretchen says because it's only fly to Hawaii cruise of Hawaii. Yes. Okay. See, everybody. I should have read before I answered, but anyway, we're all on the same path on that one. Sonny's with us. Sonny says, good morning. Amy says, I think if Americans are allowed into Canada by next summer, I believe they would let at least some cruise ships come in. The economy tanked and those dependent on cruise ship traffic. Yeah, I think they have to. I hope this guy is just totally wrong in Victoria. That's what I hope. I'm hoping that, and by then, if the things continue to improve in this country, even if it takes longer than people want it to take, as long as it continues going in the right direction, take the time. I don't mind that as much as I do just the awful way it's been for the last couple months. I don't care how long it takes, as long as we're heading in the right direction and I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. But it worries me that these people are already talking and thinking about, wiping out next year. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that at all. Sonny says, she says, hi to everybody. She's late. Gretchen says, I wish Chillie would keep the chats. Have I asked Bruce to go on my show yet? I asked him once before, and because I wanted to talk to him about stock market. I need to invite him again now. So we'll see. And Amy says, Blount ships, they just went under. I saw that and I thought about adding it as a story this morning. And I said, wow, I'm full of news stuff already today, and I just didn't want to do a whole nother story. But yeah, Blount Small Ship Adventures, which was a UK company. They sailed out of Rhode Island. They have 3 ships. They've closed their doors, and the ships are for sale. So, Amy, you're exactly right on that one. I hate to see them go. I've never sailed them, but they've been around for a while. Tom Henry says, so sad, Amy. Yeah, that I hate to see that. I hate to see that. So, all right, sliding on down here. She kayaks from New Rochelle all the way to Long Island Sound. Yeah, see there, you're getting Emily's getting some benefit of some major kayaking. Emily says, I'm going back out today on the SUP, S-U-P. What the hell is SUP? I don't know what SUP is at 3 p.m. It's going to be 92. Yeah, it's going to be hot here today, too. It's going to be 94 here. Hope it stays sunny. It says 60% chance of rain. Just as long as you don't get a storm like we had last night. Boy, that one was brutal. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's see. We're getting down here close to the bottom now, I think. I don't see anything major here. Y'all, of course, y'all keep the chat going forever. Hey, there's Bonnie. Bonnie did make it. What do you know, Bonnie? How you doing, darling? I haven't seen you for a couple days. Glad you're with us. Trying to hang in. My hip is better. The heat has been brutal. Yeah. We went through a 4 or 5 days of cold, and then it started getting hot again. I did get back in the pool yesterday after several days of the water being too cold for my sissy fat butt. I admit it. That water gets cold, and I start going, no. So I was back in the pool yesterday. I got a good workout in before that storm last night. Amanda had to go out and shoot. Amanda went out. Thankfully, I didn't have to. Amanda went out and let water out of the pool after the storm. So it's back to normal level. But it's going to be like 94 today. But then I'm so busy today. If I get out there, it'll be after I do this Sue Bryant Cruise Amigos interview. So it'll be 4 o'clock by the time I get everything processed, 4:30. So it'll be late if I get out there today, but I hope to. Let's see what else we got here before I call it a day. Everybody just keep chatting. Bonnie says she missed me. Thank you, Bonnie. I do appreciate that. All right, that's going to wrap me up, folks. It's going to be a rugged week for especially along the Gulf Coast, folks. So you guys all down there on the Gulf Coast, please stay safe. And then, of course, it's going to go up into Arkansas. It looks like it, at least. I'm not the weatherman, but it looks like it's going to go up into it, at least past Little Rock, and then it's going to turn right and head across probably the northern half of Tennessee and most of Kentucky, across West Virginia, and then assuming it makes it through the mountains without breaking up totally, it's going to get to me by Saturday or Sunday. So we're going to probably have some rain, at least showers from it here. But it won't be near as bad as the storm last night. Last night will be worse than that because we're not going to have, any really tropical stuff. It's going to be way too thinned out by the time it gets to us here on this one. But you guys down there on the Gulf Coast, stay safe, please. And remember, folks, if you can, wear your mask, social distance, stay away from people, stay at home if you can. And I realize some of you that have weather problems can't, but if you can, stay at home, be as careful and stay as healthy as you can through all this mess. And remember, better days are coming. They might not be as quick as we want, but better days are coming. And I will be back with you on updates should we need to, and I see something happening in the world. And of course, with this weather, there's probably a good possibility. Don't forget, 3 o'clock my time this afternoon with Sue Bryant. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock my time with Rona and Allison as we talk about Edinburgh. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you real soon. This is Chillie, the old fat travel guy. Later, y'all.
Thank you for watching today's Travel and Cruise Industry News. Join us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for another episode. Travel and Cruise Industry News is a production of Chillie's Cruises.